Dear child, it has been happening in small, ordinary moments, when the room is finally quiet and your thoughts get louder. When you scroll past another voice promising peace, clarity, healing, and you feel both drawn and tired. When you tell yourself you still believe in me, you still want truth, you still want light, you just do not want all the weight that seems to come when his name enters the room. Dear heart, you have been carrying a private split inside you. Part of you still reaches for me. Part of you steps back from the one who came nearest. You have tried to keep faith gentle enough to soothe you, but distant enough not to ask too much. You have thought, maybe I can have comfort without surrender. Maybe I can have wisdom without becoming vulnerable. Maybe I can find my way to God without standing too close to the sun. Beloved, I know why that path has seemed safer. You have seen people use sacred words without tenderness. You have watched some speak of holiness while leaving bruises on tender souls. You have felt the strain of expectations that sounded more like pressure than love. So you learned to keep what felt beautiful and quietly avoid what felt heavy. You kept the idea of me. You kept prayer when you could bear it. You kept longing. But you placed Jesus just far enough away that he would not disturb the careful balance you built to survive. My child, I am not speaking to accuse you. I am speaking because I want to free you from a weariness you were never meant to carry. There is a reason the enemy is pleased when you go around him. He does not need you to become cruel. He does not need you to become faithless. He does not need you to openly hate the sun. He only needs you to treat him like an optional doorway, a detail, a symbol, a piece of the story instead of the living center of it. And when that happens, the enemy rests easier, because a soul trying to reach me while keeping Jesus at a distance will stay divided inside. You may gather ideas and still feel uncertain. You may collect insight and still feel unloved in the places that hurt. You may talk about hope and still lie awake with fear under your ribs. You may search for peace and keep missing the place where peace has a face. Precious one, that is not because your hunger is wrong. It is because you were never made to live on fragments. You were made for living nearness. You were made to know my heart not as a rumor or a concept or a softened theory, but as love that stepped close enough to be recognized. This is why skipping Jesus does more than change your theology. It changes the kind of closeness you believe is possible. Without him, you may imagine me as real but far, powerful but unreadable, good in general yet uncertain toward you. Without him, you may keep trying to build confidence out of principles while your heart still asks, but does God want me personally as I am? The enemy smiles there. He smiles when your view of me becomes blurred. He smiles when you keep reaching upward but never allow yourself to be gathered. He smiles when the path stays vague and your soul stays tired. Sweet soul, hear me carefully. Jesus was never sent to make me harder to know. He was sent so you could stop guessing what I am like. He was sent so mercy would not remain abstract, so compassion would not remain distant, so my welcome would not sound like a rumor you were too afraid to test. When you look at him, you are not looking at someone standing in the way. You are seeing how my love moves toward the ashamed, the suspicious, the weary, the skeptical, the wounded, the one who wants truth but flinches from disappointment. Loved one, you have known disappointment. That is part of this story too. Not only disappointment with people, disappointment with yourself, with how often you still feel fragile, with how quickly anxiety rises, with how long it takes for your heart to settle, with how often you return to the same questions you thought you had outgrown. You wanted to be stronger by now. You wanted cleaner faith, steadier prayer, less inner conflict. You wanted to stop needing so much reassurance. And when you did not become the calm, certain person you thought you should be, it felt safer to keep things less personal, to admire from a distance, to stay thoughtful instead of surrendered, to stay interested instead of known. My dear one, there is no healing in remaining untouchable. Analysis can name the ache. Discipline can organize the ache. Distraction can postpone the ache. But only love can meet it. And this is why the enemy is pleased when Jesus remains at the edge of your life. Because then you will keep trying to heal with tools that cannot embrace you. You will keep trying to silence fear without the one who speaks peace from within the storm of your mind. You will keep trying to forgive yourself without the one who knows exactly what mercy costs and still offers it freely. You will keep trying to feel worthy without the one who has already called you wanted. Beloved, I know there are places in you that still brace for rejection, even now, even while listening. Some part of you still wonders whether bringing Jesus close would uncover things you have worked hard to hide. Not because you are false, because you are tired, because you learned to protect yourself, because somewhere along the way you began to believe that staying guarded was wisdom. But distance is not always wisdom. Sometimes it is pain with good manners. Sometimes it is self-protection that has worn a spiritual face. Sometimes it is the fear that if you come close and are not met tenderly, the ache will deepen. So you have hovered near the doorway without stepping through. You have listened from the hall. You have told yourself that maybe later would be better, when you feel cleaner, when you feel less conflicted, when your questions are fewer, when your heart is steadier, when your habits are better, when your trust comes easier. My child, later has become a hiding place, and the enemy is glad each time you postpone the closeness your soul is truly seeking. He wants you circling. He wants you almost home. He wants you talking about light without letting it fall on your own wounds. He wants you reaching for me through effort alone because effort exhausts you. He wants you spiritual but unreconciled, reflective but unchanged, comforted in patches but never deeply rested. Dear heart, I do not say this to frighten you. I say it to make the trap visible. The trap is not always rebellion. Very often it is postponement. It is the quiet decision to stay near enough to truth that you feel sincere, but far enough from surrender that you remain in control. And control has asked a lot from you. It has kept you alert. It has kept you performing. It has kept you monitoring every feeling, every thought, every shift in tone, every sign that things might not be safe. You have called that maturity because naming it fear felt too vulnerable. Precious one, you do not need to manage your whole inner world before you come close. You do not need perfect language. You do not need an impressive prayer. You do not need to resolve every tension before opening the door. Come as the one who is still mixed, still healing, still hoping in uneven ways. That honesty does not repel him. It draws his tenderness. This is what the enemy does not want you to discover. He does not want you to learn that Jesus receives people before they have themselves arranged. He does not want you to see that the sun comes near to confusion without shaming it. He does not want you to know that my heart toward you is not cold inspection but holy affection. He would prefer that you imagine a stern distance. He would prefer that you mistrust the welcome. He would prefer that you keep patching your own soul together with borrowed wisdom and temporary calm. But my child, you have felt how temporary that calm can be. It lasts a day, an hour, a moment. Then the old ache returns, the loneliness returns, the self-questioning returns, the hidden fear returns, and you wonder why the things that seem to help never reach all the way down. It is because you do not need an improved coping method as much as you need a living Savior. Not because you are weak in some shameful way. Not because you have failed beyond repair. Not because I am withholding unless you say the right words. It is because you were made for relationship, and no substitute can carry the full weight of what your soul requires. Loved one, look at the sun again. Notice how he did not hurry the broken. Notice how he spoke to the ashamed without making them smaller. Notice how truth in his mouth did not become a weapon. Notice how strength in him did not harden into cruelty. Notice how he drew near to ordinary people with ordinary wounds. The overlooked, the grieving, the confused, the ones whose lives had become tangled, the ones who had made a mess, the ones who were trying to hide, the ones others had judged too quickly. My dear one, if you want to know whether I am safe for the real you, look there. If you want to know how I respond to your weariness, look there. If you want to know whether I welcome the part of you that still trembles, look there. This is why keeping Jesus at a distance does not protect you. It keeps you from the clearest revelation of my heart. You do not preserve freedom by avoiding him. You preserve confusion. You do not stay balanced by stepping around him. You stay split. You do not remain open-minded by keeping him at arm's length. You remain emotionally hungry while pretending you are already fed. Beloved, there is no shame in admitting that you have been hungry. There is no disgrace in recognizing how tired you have become from trying to be self-contained. There is no humiliation in confessing that your soul wants something personal, steady, and real. That longing is not embarrassing. It is honest. And honesty is a better beginning than performance has ever been. Perhaps this is why you have felt such tension lately. You cannot keep living on a half-open yes. Something in you knows it. Something in you knows that treating Jesus as a side path has not brought the peace you hoped for. Something in you knows that the ache keeps returning because the center has been avoided. Sweet soul, I am not asking you to manufacture emotion. I am not asking you to force certainty. I am not asking you to become dramatic or pretend that every question vanished. I am inviting you to become honest enough to stop hovering. One small turning can begin a great unwinding. A quiet prayer, a whispered name, a simple, "I have kept you far away because I was afraid." That kind of truth opens more than performance ever could. Dear heart, he knows what you fear. He knows you fear being disappointed again. He knows you fear losing the little control that helps you function. He knows you fear that closeness with him might ask you to feel what you have buried. He knows you fear that if you entrust yourself fully, you may have to grieve what was never healed. And still, he is gentle. Still, he comes nearer. Still, he does not shame you for trembling at the threshold. This is the difference you have been aching to know. Religion may push, fear may rush, pride may pretend, but Jesus meets. He meets the tired mind. He meets the guarded heart. He meets the person who is hidden behind thoughtfulness because vulnerability felt too costly. He meets you there, without contempt. My child, the enemy smiles when you believe that healing must begin with your strength. I smile when you let healing begin with my welcome. The enemy smiles when his name remains a concept you discuss. I delight when his presence becomes a place you rest. The enemy smiles when you keep polishing the outside while the inside begs for tenderness. I move close when you stop pretending and bring me what is actually there. Precious one, the doorway is not narrow because love is stingy. It is clear because love is merciful. You do not have to invent 1,000 routes back to me. I have not hidden the way home. I have made it known in the Son who entered human sorrow, human fatigue, human pain, and still carried love without turning bitter. That matters. It matters because you need more than instructions. You need someone who understands the texture of being human. The sudden tears, the delayed grief, the numb afternoons, the restless nights, the mind that will not settle, the wish to be held together without always knowing how. Jesus is not distant from those things. He stepped into them without being swallowed by them. And because of that, you do not have to come as a polished spirit floating above your real life. You come as a whole person. with your exhaustion, with your disappointment, with your hidden shame, with your cautious hope, with your need to be met rather than managed. Loved one, listen closely now. You are not being invited into heavier pressure. You are being drawn out of it. You are not being called into a colder system. You are being called into warmth. You are not being led toward less of me by coming to Jesus. You are being brought to my heart without fog, without guessing, without the old distance you have learned to accept. This is why the enemy loses ground when you stop stepping around him. Because lies begin to weaken. The lie that you must earn love. The lie that closeness is dangerous. The lie that your questions disqualify you. The lie that your weakness makes you unwanted. The lie that holiness means you must hide your wounds. The lie that you can know me best while keeping the sun outside the room. One by one, those lies lose air when Jesus is welcomed in. Not all at once, perhaps. Sometimes slowly. Like a room growing lighter before sunrise. At first you only notice that the shadows do not feel quite as final. Then something in you softens. Then something in you uncurls. Then the burden you thought was part of you begins to loosen. Beloved, it may happen that way. Quietly. Without spectacle. Without noise. Without the kind of moment others would call dramatic. But do not underestimate what holy nearness can do over time. It can steady what panic has shaken. It can warm what disappointment has chilled. It can untangle what fear has kept knotted. It can teach your guarded heart that surrender to love is not the same thing as losing yourself. It is how your truest self is found again. My dear one, rest from the pressure to solve everything tonight. Rest from the strain of proving you are sincere enough. Rest from the old idea that keeping Jesus at a polite distance makes your life safer. It has not made you safer. It has made you lonelier. And I want more for you than lonely spirituality. I want nearness. I want the kind of peace that can sit beside grief and not disappear. I want the kind of trust that grows slowly but honestly. I want the kind of closeness where you no longer have to wonder whether my love reaches all the way to your actual life. It does, and it has, and it will. Sweet soul, there is room here for your unfinished heart. There is room here for the questions that still need gentleness. There is room here for the ache you have not named well yet. There is room here for the part of you that still hesitates. You do not have to force your way into my care. You can simply turn toward the one you have kept at the edge and find that his hands were never closed. So settle a little now. Loosen your grip on the inner posture that says, I must hold all of this together before I can come near. You do not. The way is open. The welcome is real. The sun is not standing there to condemn your delay. He is there to end your distance. My child, when the night grows quiet again and the old thoughts return, you do not have to circle the same empty ground. You may speak his name without fear. You may lean your tired heart toward him. You may be still long enough to discover that love has been nearer than your fear allowed you to believe. Take one slow breath. You do not need to make anything happen. Just rest here a moment. Inside this truth, I have not stepped away. And in the gentle nearness of Jesus, you will keep finding that I remain here. Amen. Beloved family, this ministry is built on faith, dedication, and prayer. We remain committed to sharing these messages with sincerity. If you feel led to stand with us, you will find the support link in the description and in the comment box below. May the Lord bless you always.